Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today is going to be the second part of my bake off or cake off challenge given to me by Sergeant Furitos, and the challenge is with Tracy, and Tracy's got her own channel, Tracy's cooking allotment vlog, I think it is. Anyway, please have a look at her because she's cracking up some amazing meals. Fair play to her. Anyway, this is today, this is my second of the challenge. So I'll be making chocolate mirror cake. So first of all, I'll be preparing the ganache first. So I need to prepare the ganache and then I'll do the cake. So first of all, I want 200 grams of dark chocolate. I'm using this chocolate. I forgot to switch it on, didn't I? Right. And 200 grams or thereabouts of dark chocolate. 210, that's fine. Now I'm going to chop all this up into fine bits. And put it in a bowl. So I'll just chop this up a second. You want it as fine as possible for the chocolate to be able to dissolve in the cream. So I'll just carry on with this a minute. I've chopped all the chocolate up, so I'll put this in the bowl ready. Just set that aside a second. And now I'll measure the cream. So, bit of chocolate in there. I want 400 mils of double cream or whipping cream. So measured up 400 mils. Don't worry if it's a little bit over. 400 mils, and I'm going to put this in a saucepan now and I'll heat it, not bringing it up to boil. I shall heat the cream up now. It won't come to a boil. I don't want it to come to a boil because it'll be too hot. So just heat it up before boiling point. So I've got it on a medium to low heat. Now just gently stir this now until I see it at the right temperature. Right, the cream is now just below boiling point. So I'll switch this off and then just pour it over the chocolate. So I'll pour the cream now over the chocolate. And let it set. Let it rest a minute. I'll just let that in there now for 2 minutes, which 2 minutes is up, and just give it a stir. I'm not using a whisk. And I want to incorporate all the chocolate in with the cream. And this will take about 2 hours to cool. And if you have it in the fridge, please remember to pull it out now and then and give it a stir, because otherwise it wouldn't be cooling equally. It'll just cool on the outsides and you'll still be warm on the insides. Right, all my chocolate is melted. I'm quite happy with this. I shall set this aside now and I'll prepare my cake, my chocolate sponge. So I'll just set this aside and put it in the fridge, and it takes up to 2 hours to cool. For the next part now is the chocolate cake. So I'm going to put together now 370 grams of plain flour. I've got a bag open here. So put this in the big mixing bowl. So 370 grams. Of plain flour. I'll be making 3 sponges. 2 is for the chocolate glaze, and 1 I'll be using at a later date, and which I'll show you. 370 grams of plain flour. Stick that in. And next I want the sugar. So I want 600 grams of granulated sugar. I'm using granulated sugar for this. This is 600 grams. An awful lot. Just had to check there, sorry, and it is right. So mix that in. Next I want to buy baking powder. Baking powder. I want 3 teaspoons of baking powder. So that's 1, 2, 3. And then baking soda. I want 2.5 teaspoons. 1.5. 1.5 teaspoons of salt. Just the 1. And 110 grams now of cocoa powder. So 110 grams of cocoa powder, that's gone in as well. I put in a whisk on this one. I've used this quite a few times and I've always struggled to take this on and off. But if you leave it on, one down, it comes off a lot easier, especially those paddles. So right, I'm going to mix all that together first. So I'll leave that now mixing a few minutes. This is mixed enough now. Now move it away. The next stage now is adding the eggs. So I'll move you closer so you can see. So my next stage is switching this off and adding the eggs. So I had 3 eggs for this. So I'll crack them in the jug a minute. And they're large eggs. So stick the eggs in, and 100 mils of 150 mils, sorry, of milk. Stick that in. And 300 mils of vegetable oil. Stick that in. About 3 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Now I'm going to mix this up all together in a minute into a batter. So put it on slow first. I'm going to turn this down a bit, and I want to gradually add 300 mils of boiling water. So just put a bit in first so it mixes. Turn it up a bit. It should end up then into a nice batter. Mixing into a nice batter, so I'm turning it up high for the last minute or so. Yeah, let's switch this off now. As I say, I'll take this off first, isn't I? water. Get the dish for this. I'll separate this now in between 3 cakes. I'm line these cake tins now, so I'm going to separate this now in between the 3. I know you get really messy with this. I'll just scrape the rest out a second. These have been equally dispersed, so I'll put these now in the oven at 350 Fahrenheit, 170 Celsius. And let them cook now for 25 to 30 minutes. Sorry, 30 to 35 minutes. And let them cook. And whilst that's cooking now, I'll start preparing for the mirror glaze. For the mirror glaze, I'm going to put the gelatin into a dish with just 2 tablespoons of tap water. So this is for the gelatin to bloom. So it's 1 packet I'm using, which is 12 grams. Let that bloom a couple of minutes. So right, I now want to measure the cocoa powder. So it's 110 grams of cocoa powder, so I'll measure it in the saucepan. 110 grams. Not to worry, I have more. That's 110 grams. Of cocoa powder. No, keep dog's dish. In with the cocoa powder. I'll mix the water. That's 157 mils. So I'll mix this now into a paste. And get as much lumps out as I possibly can. So this will take a while. This cocoa and cold water don't mix too well. So I'll carry on with this a second. I'll just add a splash of cream to this, just to make it into a nice paste. Splash them up. Right, it's all mixed into a paste now. So I'll just do the next step now. And now add 200 grams of sugar to this. I'm using caster sugar. Bang on 200. I'll mix this in now. I'll mix this with an easier mix. And I'll gradually add the cream, which is kind of equivalent to 200 mils. I should mix this now until it's all dispersed. I should mix this in. Turn the heat on and bring it up to a boil. Just whisk this. I'll use a whisk now. Now it's on the heat. I want to add the gelatin, which is bloomed lovely. So now I've got my whisk. Shall whisk this all in. If that's mixed up nice, I'll just bring this to a boil now. Right, it's come to a boil. I've taken the 3 cakes out, and now I'm going to sieve this into a bowl. This will make sure there's no lumps from the gelatin and also the cocoa powder. Should put this to cool now. It'll take up to about 2 hours to cool. Right. Cakes are cooked, so I'm just going to take them out of the rack now, so they can cool. So I take them out of the dish so they can cool onto the rack. Here's the one. That's the two. And here's the three. And like I said, I'll be using the one another time. So I'll just let these cool now. And there's my glaze cooling by there. So that glaze will take about 2 hours to cool in total before I can use it. So I'll let these to cool now, and before I do my ganache. I've done the ganache before I whip it. Right, next step now is to whip the ganache into a cream. Which is cold really, really good. And I put it in the fridge, and I've also, as suggested, stirred it now and then, just so it's got the consistency of cooling. And that, and put in the whisk on. And put it on number 4 to bring it up into a nice slather and cream. That is just at the right thickness. I shall now spread it on the cake. So I'll put some on the inside and on the sides first, and put it back in the fridge. So I'll do that first. I've put the ganache all on top and sides. Should put this now in the fridge before I do the next step. I'll put this in the fridge now, and then I'll do the next step. It's not even for that. Has to be pretty even for the next step then anyway. But don't worry about the little bits of cake you do see. And excuse the background, 7 cut in the grass, and I've also got the wash machine on. So, right, that's that step. I'll put this in the fridge now to cool, ready for the next step. Next step now of this cake is to sieve again into a jug. This again will get out any bubbles. And then your bits again. I'll leave that there. And I've got the cake now on a board on some tins with a tray underneath. I'm just going to pour this over and around. When it catches it underneath, let it settle a second. Let that settle a minute. Ooh, coming off the edge. Just over a bit. Catch it, because then we can go on the next step. So I leave that now to drip there a minute, and then I'll put it in the fridge to cool, and then I'll start the next step again. Right, next stage now is to decorate. Not really a lot you can do with a mirror cake, because the mirror cake itself is the decoration, but just to draw attention to it again, I like to put a little bit on it. So I'm using Biscoff biscuits, so I'll crunch these down with a rolling pin. Just a second. So I'll crunch these down now with a rolling pin. That's that. So the next step now is to put it on. Yeah. Now let's spray some gold. And down the sides. Now I want to put some gold on it. I only use this for decorating. This is edible gold, by the way. Couple more. And here is my chocolate mirror cake. I hope you've liked my recipe and my cake. What I have left, I put it in a container and I will freeze that. So it does freeze up to about 3 to 6 months, but I will freeze that and use that for another cake. So this is my cake challenge. I hope it's okay. And I'm going to enjoy tucking into that. And if you liked what I've cooked, please press like, subscribe, and for all those who's returning, thank you very much for returning, and to all my new subscribers, welcome, and I hope you like what I do. Until I see you again, well, until you see me again, bye bye.